Are you doing digital or are you a digital innovator? Now, what does that mean? That's what we're going to be exploring in this lesson. In fact, if we take a look at what's covered, what we'll see is what a digital transformation journey looks like, the difference between organizations that are simply doing digital, and I'm reluctant not to use the quotes, and those that are digital innovators. We will also take a look at the performance gap analysis and how you can understand where you are now and how you're performing with some empirical numbering to go along with it. Where are the gaps in your organization? But let's start off by taking a look at the digital transformation journey, and we'll see that it's almost like a rite of passage. There are high-performing organizations, and they tend to be digital innovators. They act differently, they perform differently, they just do stuff differently using technology than traditional businesses. And they're the ones that are getting these outrageous valuations, massive growth, and are winning in the commercial sector. There are also those in the private or the public sector that are digital innovators that are able to cut costs, deliver services to the front line, and be able to become much more effective communicators with their customers, their citizens, their learners, whatever that may happen to be. So, private or public sector, the digital innovators are the guys that are stealing the show, and we're going to take a look at what makes them different from most other organizations. But let's start by the rite of passage that I told you. Most organizations are doing digital. We have a website, we happen to have social media channels, and I don't mean to sound dismissive about that. They are essential elements inside the journey of transformation. But when we start to feel the heat of competition on the back of our neck, or the demands for cuts that are coming from governments, or the need to get extra votes, or to engage better with our citizens, we tend to then tool up differently, and we would refer to it as digitizing services. So it's a halfway house between becoming a digital innovator and simply doing digital. We take new technology and retool, but we quite often retool around the process that still exists. We will put up a form instead of having a paper form. We will put up payment gateways instead of having cashiers. They're just digitized versions of what went before. And if you recall back to the term digital transformation, the word transformation was about the ability to reimagine and reinvent systems, products, and processes in order to get the full benefit that can come from this new technology. And so what we find is that the digital innovators quite often skip digitizing. If, however, you are in the process of moving from doing digital to digitizing your products or services, you're with the many, not the few. But the question that must be asked is this the end point, or do we want to lead an organization to become digital innovators? Here's where we're going to get into the detail. So if you wanted to pause and grab a coffee, now would be a good time. As you can see, I've brought in all of the squares because all of our 5 change blocks are referenced here. I've got the league table of those that are digital innovators versus those that are simply doing digital. Let's take a look at number 1 and see what the difference is. Those doing digital focus on their own website, social media, IT, to deliver their existing services and do it quite effectively. Digital innovators assume the technology will be there. They don't talk about it. What they focus on is strategy and culture that promotes a constant no-blame, experimental, innovative nature nurtured within the business. In fact, if you take a look at any of those high-performing technology businesses that we're seeing reaching IPO levels, the CEO constantly stresses that his or her role is about understanding strategy and culture within the organization. They assume that technology and marketing will be there to meet the demands that they make. Then next we have doing digital, where we tend to focus on short-term goals and targets, where the digital innovators constantly articulate the new organisational vision and how we plan to get there. So the leaders in the innovative organisation have planned a vision, they have determined the near-term challenges, they're explaining internally and working with customers to explain what this new land looks like and how they plan to retransform and shape. And that level of engagement with customers and staff is essential. Focusing on the short-term goals, targets and projects is good, but it's just, again, a chip to play the game. It's not a differentiator. It's not creating new competitive advantage. We're not transforming an organisation. It's just what is expected in the modern day. Number 3, we have a process that ensures compliance and risk. That's what our processes are for when we're doing digital. But the digital innovators take a different look. They have processes for managing change and scored cycles of innovation. Not every idea makes it to the table, and the best organisations are great at taking on ideas and then throwing them out rapidly in order to get to the 1 or 2 that really count. So their processes constantly change. Their processes are more like Wikipedia entries where anyone can edit the entry if they find a better way to do the process. Their processes are cutting across the organisation, where those doing digital tends to still sit in their silos, departments, comfortable with how they do things. The innovators don't look at it like that. There's a bunch of resource sitting here and there's a need to get stuff done. How do I use that resource to hit that end goal? Next, we have customer-focused and creative. Everybody is customer-focused and creative. If you weren't, you wouldn't be in business. Or you wouldn't be getting the budgets from government or whatever it is that makes your operation tick. It's a chip to play the game. It is not a part of transformation. It is expected. The digital innovators, well, they co-create new products and services with their customers. Their relationship isn't about servicing the customer, it's much deeper than that. They bring their customers into the discussion. They understand explicitly the pains their customers are having, and they try to invent around those pains in order that they can make something that is much more customer focused. Of course, they service their customers well, but having that deep collaborative relationship is much different. It's much more personal than simply servicing the customer. And this wasn't really achievable to any great scale before the web, before digital. We've worked with organizations that have gone from year 0 to year 1 and have accumulated 50,000 individuals who are helping them co-create their products and services. That level of scale was unimaginable only a few years ago. But the digital innovators get it. They use data to help analyze the decisions that they're making. They use customers to help test it with them. And they create step by step by step, iteration after iteration. Those doing digital digitize existing products and services. We've covered this in the last diagram. The digital innovators reimagine the organization before implementing the technology that will enable it. So we have to stop and take a look if we're putting technology first or communications first. The digital innovators don't do that. They come from a business need push as opposed to a technology pull. They're pushing the demands to communications and the technology experts and saying, this is what the business needs, rather than the communications and the technology experts going, here's all of the tools, what should we use them for? So a very different approach is used, and therefore we avoid digitizing. This one might seem a little bit flippant, and I don't mean it to be. The doing digital guys tend to go for graphs like likes. I've never seen anybody's graph for likes go down. It only ever goes up. So it's no use to us. Going up, building a community, great. It's an expectation. but it is not a differentiator. The digital innovators default to data-driven decision making whenever possible. They'll use different metrics to help run their business. Stuff that goes up and down, cause and effect led, and quite often those numbers are determined before the project is even kicked off. I will pause for now, and when we come back we're going to take a look at technology and is an enabler and not a differentiator, and we'll finish off this section. Thanks for watching.